Welcome back to IGN Live from Gamescom, brought to you by Homefront: The Revolution. I'm Damon Hadfield. I'm joined by Hannes, who is studio head at developer IO Interactive. He's been working on the new Hitman game coming out later this year. This new one is something called Hitman, and you're taking a different approach, a slightly different approach with this one, right? It's you're planning to support the game long after release with added missions and content. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. So what we're showing here for the first time at Gamescom is actual gameplay, and we hope that people have time to queue at the consumer booth. I know so many people want to see it, so it's going to be pretty exciting. But this is where we actually unveiled the actual gameplay of the game. When we come to the release model that you addressed, is yes. So we as developers, we have this challenge that we sit for years making our games, in our little library towers, and then we ship it, and the world sees it, and we get feedback, we get comments, we get suggestions and ideas. We also get criticism, which I think is a good thing. Yeah, that's how it should be. And then we have to spend another few years of making the game better and taking this into account. And after Absolution, we thought there's got to be a better way than that to do that. So we looked at the connectivity of the modern consoles, the PC, and that is something that is a great foundation for us, because we're not like PS4, Xbox, you're like 99% connected. And this digital platform, that is something that really excited us. And that's why we start the journey on December the 8th. And then we'll continuously update the game. We'll have new locations we can travel to. We'll have new missions every week. There will be a new challenge. There will be a new target. There will be new contracts. And that is something that we could not have done before. One point I want to get across, though, because I know for some people that's new. And whenever we do something new, you need to explain a lot. People have questions, and rightfully so, because we need to gain the trust from the players, why we do that and how we do that. And the game is going to cost $60, not a cent more. There will be no other way in the game to spend money. So everything that comes for this game over the time of its life is included in that price, and that's a very important point for me.
So on day one, on December 8th when the game is out, what are you getting on that day?
So we are currently working on the details. We promise we will have a very detailed rollout plan briefly after Gamescom. And the reason for that is that I'm really determined that we keep our promises, and we promised to listen to the players. And this place is a great place to listen. There are like 350,000 players right now here at Gamescom, and we are listening what people say, what press says, and so on. And we are also promised that when we say we do something, that we do it. Whenever we started the project back in January 2014 with our first open letter, we kept every promise along the way. And the moment we promise a rollout plan, people need to be able to rely that they know they get what we promised. And as developers, we need to make sure that our plans, that they work out, that what we promise, that we can keep that, because I do not want to be out there disappointing the players. That's where we started with a closed alpha. We're going to have a beta, so we start working with the players very early already. And from December the 8th on, way before that, people will know what they get for the money. And I understand why that is important.
So with previous Hitman games, there was a story that you were telling. It had a beginning and an end. Are you telling a story with this game, with the new Hitman, or is it more just about experiencing what it's like to be Agent 47 and going on contracts?
Yeah, no, there's always a story in the Hitman game, right? If you look at all of the games, so we did that. We looked back at this 15 years of the game series, which is a long time, and we looked at what people liked about each of these games, what they perhaps didn't like so much, and we tried to distill the best out of that, and took it as the foundation for our new game. Story is a part of that. The new game has a story that will frame everything, explain how the missions are connected, but you also have a way to choose which story you want to take next, which hits you want to take next, where to travel in the world to unfold the story in a bit more non-linear way. So if you compare that with Absolution, we know that some of our fans were disappointed by how much story-driven it was, and that made the game naturally rather linear to make the whole story work out. And I think we culminated in some of the things like having even the target of a mission die in the cutscene, and that is something we know wasn't that appreciated. And this is not going to be in a new Hitman game. It's all about this creative self-action, the complete freedom of choice. You have a safe game back, you can experiment, you can try it anywhere. We don't have checkpoints. We have huge sandboxes. We try to increase the density in the levels, and our AI is now very sophisticated. So we took that from Absolution and made them smarter, more intelligent. They have a lot of ways to talk with each other. They have actions in the level, and that's also a way to tell the story. So when you play the level, you actually get part of the story, and this is how you can immerse yourself into the world. We'll also have narrative points like cutscenes and so on. But compared to Absolution, where the story determined what happened, now the player determines what happens and gets the story told in the way he plays it.
So can you give us an idea of maybe some of the plans you have to add content to the game after launch?
Yeah. So what we want to do is the moment we start the journey, we will have new content dropping every week. Some of this content will be what we call live content. That's content that we could not have done on a disk. So one example I want to give is there will be targets that appear for a short amount of time. So imagine you have a target in the coastline of Italy and he's there for 48 hours. You get an information, this is going to happen, it's going to be an event, and you have one shot to kill that guy. The way you take him out is how you take him out in your record. If he escapes forever. So these temporary targets, we think, is something that we were never closer to this pure assassination fantasy than with a mode like that before. And we couldn't do that without the live game. And the moment you pull this trigger, it's going to feel very, very special, I think. So we're really looking forward to that. We know it's not a mode for everybody because it's going to be a pretty challenging mode, but we know that hundreds of thousands of people will be very thrilled about the exchange experience. How can you potentially do it? How can you make sure that you hit each of these targets that come over time as silent assassin, perhaps suit only, killing him in the accident, unseen? It's going to be cool.
And then, can you speak to the footage that we're seeing here? Are you sort of giving us glimpses of the missions that will be going on?
Yeah, what we see here is actually the fashion show level, so that's Paris. This is shown from different perspectives, and this is a role where we focus on the details that we have in the level. So you see, like, you can go anywhere in this level. It's completely open, it's huge. It's 6 times bigger than the biggest level we had in Hitman Absolution. And we also now are able to simulate 300 AI entities, and in Absolution we peaked at 50. And when we say simulate, it means that the characters do the thing in the level all the time, whether you see them or not, because they can influence the level. Here you have a good overview where you see how big the level is, the outside areas where you might be able to stealth, to snipe. This building itself, which is a museum during daytime, but in the level actually repurposed for this fashion show. And we see our levels as a bit like Swiss cheese, where you can get in and out like everywhere, no dead ends. And because players play Hitman in very different ways.
Sure.
Some play it as an action game or as a stealth game. Some people play it like an adventure or a puzzle game. And that's all fine. Everybody should choose his own way to play. And our job is to deliver a sandbox that has the density, the tools, and the fun elements that people can actually do that.
Well, I'm a big Hitman fan. This is a very interesting model that you're trying out. So I'm very interested to see what you have in store for us after December 8th when the game comes out. So, Hannes, thank you so much for coming by the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Stay tuned. We still have more games to show you from Gamescom on IGN Live after this.